Good morning, everybody. This is Tom from Weekly Gospel Reflections. How's everybody doing today? I want to thank everybody for always watching my videos here on Weekly Gospel. And so today we're going to talk about something. How many times do you forgive? How many times can you forgive? You know, Jesus talks about this many times in the Bible. And one of the hardest things that for human beings, talking about including me, is how do you forgive someone and how many times do you forgive that person? Do you keep forgiving them for the same things they do? Maybe they borrowed money from you. Maybe they did something to you. Maybe they talked behind your back. Maybe it's a job situation where they took advantage of you on a job. Maybe it's a situation where it's been hard on you in a relationship and that person's taken advantage of you financially. There's many things that happen that you have no control over. And what happens is that you can't help what they do. You can only help what you do. Now, should you forgive them and should you still help them? Well, God tells you, Jesus tells you that you should always help people. And that you should always forgive them. So we're going to look at a parable that Jesus talked about in the Bible. I'm going to look at Matthew. I'm going to look at chapter 18. I'm going to talk about a parable about of the unmerciful servant. And this particular chapter, as you know, it talks about the parable of lost sheep and the parable of things. But today we're going to talk about Peter came to Jesus and said in chapter 21, verse 21, "How many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, "I will tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Now, why did Jesus say that? So we're going to explain that a little bit more in detail today. If you go into verse 23, "Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had to be sold to repay the debt. The servant fell on his knees before him and says, 'Be patient with me, Lord, be patient.' It's sort of like, 'I will not do that again. No matter what, I will not do that. I won't go in debt again.' He begged, 'I will pay you back everything.' The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. Then the servant, what does he do? He went out and found one of his fellow servants that owes him money. And you owed him 100 denarii. He grabbed him and began to choke him. 'Pay what you owe me, pay what you owe me.' The fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, 'Be patient, and I will pay you back.' But he refused and went off and had the man thrown in prison till he could pay the debt. And the other servants were really greatly distressed." And what happens with that is when the master, the king, heard of this, what does he do? He says, "You're a wicked, wicked servant. I canceled all your debt and yet you still do this." Don't you feel like sometimes maybe you forgive somebody and you let it go, and then all of a sudden, man, they're back doing the same thing they did to you the week before, or the week before that, and the week before that? They're doing exactly the same thing. So you get angry. Well, no, you don't necessarily get angry. You get frustrated. You may get some feelings of distrust that I'm not helping this person again, because all this person is, it's like giving an alcoholic alcohol again. Even though he stopped drinking for a period of time and said, I will stop. But yet he gets one sip and he's back doing it again. What happens, I think, a lot of times is our mindsets. What kind of mindsets do we have? Do we have mindset of repairing ourselves or redoing, or are we just a mindset of completing the same circle over and over and over? In other words, do you find yourself in that same circle over and over? And it's the same thing that happened last month and last year and year before. It's the same people or different people come to you. Something I learned through the years is this. I had a guy I worked with. I didn't actually work with him. I made a subcontract with this particular guy that I would complete these tasks in the state of Florida, and then I would complete all these things, and he would pay me an X amount of dollars per job if I complete these with my employees. So I contracted with him. We signed a contract. And he was to pay me an X amount of dollars so many times a month so I could pay my people and go on, right? Well, in the beginning, it was great and fantastic. Everything worked well. The companies were paying him because I subcontracted to do the work, and I started doing everything properly, and everything was fine. But as time went on, I completed my task, but the person did not pay me. It started getting slower, 3 months, and then 4 months of paying the bills. And so finally, I just said, okay, I'm coming up to find out what's going on. Well, thinking he's taking the money, he's not paying me, wanted to choke him. And it got to the point to where, what should I do? Should I just let it go? Well, no, we're talking $100,000. I mean, I was at my wit's end. I borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to take care of everything that I had and my obligation. But yet I could not pay my employees. I could, but I'm at my wit's end. I'm running down to the last of the wire. So I went up there and talked to him, and I said, all right, I can tell you what. Just give me what you can. And that was the last check I ever got from the guy. Although I was under contract to finish these. So I contacted the company, eliminated him, and ended up doing the work anyway. But then again, I lost all that money. He comes back to me. I forgave him. We started again. Same thing happened. Should you forgive him a third time? Lord says forgive him a third time. Forgave him again, third time. Then I realized that sometimes you can help people so far, but then they got to help themselves. And I realized it's about helping him along. But he did not know how to help himself. So you have to teach and help people along. So I would tell and explain to him, I will do work for you for this, but you must do this. So I figured out a way that I could work with him and help him along, even though he's the one who had the contract initially, and help him along and filter him along to where eventually he started working like we're supposed to in a group. It was a trifold. Company paid him, he paid me. But the company was paying me. They never stopped paying me, but he still owed me $120,000 that he could not pay. But he had a beautiful home. His wife was a psychologist. They had money, but he couldn't pay me. Why? His debt ratio was too high. Her debt ratio. They go this, do this, do this, do this. But then it's not me to judge, right? I forgave him. I walked away and forgave him. I never knew what happened to him, but I forgave him. I ended up keeping the contract. I just lost that money. But it got me up to the point to where I was almost not homeless, but close. So what you have to do, you have to sometimes you should forgive them. Even though you're your friends, maybe they did wrong, maybe they talked about you or went behind your back, or it could be jealousy, it could be greed, it could be envy. And so as Jesus talked about this parable, the king forgave the gentleman and forgave all his debt because the king was going to sell his wife and his children to get the money back. And you can't blame somebody good because they're trying to survive their kingdom also. But not everything is perfect in the perfect world. And we have to accept that. Not everybody's going to pay their bills. But then you got people that pay perfectly. No matter what. That bill comes in, they're going to pay that bill. My employees always got paid. They never had to wait on a check. I may wait on my check. They always say pay yourself first. Well, that's not always true. You take care of the people around you. Because if you don't take care of them, you're not going to have any people around you. You're not going to have any work. You're not going to have anything to do at all, right? So the Lord's teaching you. It tells the story of the king forgiving. And as the king says at the end of that, he says straight up to the guy, are you going to do this, you wicked man? I'm going to put you in jail and I'm going to torture you until you pay the debt. Now, how is that guy going to pay the debt? In jail, being tortured. He's not. You only get so many chances in life. The Jesus Christ will give you many chances. He will help you through those things. You know what? I was thinking the other day for me, how many times I have asked Jesus for forgiveness. Gosh. And he still forgave me. For the same thing? Possibly. The same thing, different hat, different maneuver, different mannerism, same situation? Possibly. Jesus, I know, has forgiven me. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because no matter what, if I tell the truth and try to do the very best I can do, Jesus is going to help. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's not a man in the world. You know, I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, 45 years at the pulpit. Is he perfect? No, he says, I'm not perfect. I may know more than the guy over here knows, but it doesn't make I'm a better man than him because I've been up here 45 years. He may be a better man than me. See, Jesus wants us to look at each other and find out what kind of person we are. Jesus is the one keeping count. We can't keep count because we sin all the time. We have a desire to do good. And sometimes a temptation will roll in front of us. I keep using this analogy. And then that's when the sin occurs. So we have desire to always do good and to help everything. When things are going good, that's when you're bombarded the most. You may have an alcohol problem. That desire is always there. But you see that, right? But you have to take your clients out to dinner. You have to take your clients out to lunch. You have to take your clients out. You may have a client that drinks at noon, but you can't drink. You may have a client that lies, cheats, and steals, but he's still your client. You got to figure out always to help this guy and maneuver around him and maneuver your way through life, because that's the way life is. Nothing's perfect. I had many clients like that. Always maneuver, scheming, conniving, this, that, and other. So you work your way around it. It's like life. You work your way around your neighbors, you help. But the key is this. You help them. You never stop helping no matter what. You always help people around you. No matter, thick or thin. Guy needs $20, give him $20. If you got it, give it. Guy needs $500, give it to him. It'll come back to you. Not next day or next day and next day. The guy may never pay you back. If you got it and you can do without it, give it to him. Because it's going to come back to you tenfold. See, what happens is that desire to have that alcohol at the table is still there. But the temptations run in. It could be a pretty girl walking in front of you and you're happily married and she is just absolutely gorgeous. You say, oh, this is my dream girl. And your wife may be beautiful and great, but she just has these 10 flaws or 5 flaws. But then you start looking at that. Then that's where the temptation comes in. Is that really a desire? It can start out to be a small seed, end up being desire, and then temptations, and then it goes to sin. I have a pastor, this pastor friend was telling me a story. Him in his younger years, that's what happened to him. His was not necessarily alcohol, his was gambling. He said behind the pulpit, he said, I preach it all the time. I'm a sinner. Gambling was his problem. Saw slot machines in Vegas, and they had a mission going on there. He was there, and he was supposed to do a speech, but he was in Vegas at this casino, and he's walking down the machines. He hears the machines clicking, clicking, clicking. He's saying, there's one right there making a noise that I know it's getting ready to pull money. It's getting ready to drop it. He did. He played it. It dropped. He knew it. He could hear. He knew the sounds. As the coins drop, there's just certain sounds. He knew. He got it. Got the money. It was a large sum of money. Got it. But as the night went on, he went and did a speech. Got the money. That money was just, I can make more money. I can make more money. And so that's what he did. He went downstairs. I can make more money. Ends up losing it all. Then he dips into his pocket. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. All of a sudden, he's in debt. Wife don't know it. All of a sudden, it hits him as he's laying in bed. He's in debt. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to get out of here. Desire, temptation, sin. So he sits there and says, okay, he gets out of there, gets his life together, tells his wife the truth, lays it on the line. I'm telling you the truth. He pays back. He says, I am going to do this. For every time I'm going to go out and I'm going to minister, and of course I get my paycheck for ministering, I'm going to put a portion of this, just this very small portion, to pay back those debts. That's my debt. It's not your debt. We're married. You don't pay it back. I'm going to pay it back to my family. He did, because credit cards and things like that, he borrowed on. He paid it off. Took him 3 years. $20, $30, $10, $40. Took him 3 years. He paid it off. There's nothing better feeling than that. He was not going to write it off because he did it. See, we can't write things off sometimes. We've got to just admit it's our fault. This is what we did in our life, and we got to make it right with God. So that's what happens. If you don't make it right with God, God, I sinned. Will I do it again? I sure hope not. Please help me not to do that. Help me not to have that desire, which leads into temptation. Because what happens when things are going really perfect for you in your life, that's when the desires come in. Because you're getting a little comfortable. You're okay, and money's okay, and life is okay, your marriage is okay, and things are okay. Well, that's when the desires hit, and that's where the temptations hit, and then which causes equals the sin. I always have this picture in my mind: desire plus temptations equals sin. I have this always in my mind all the time. So I catch myself sometimes saying, oh, I have this desire. Oh, that's not really a good desire. Where'd that come from? That didn't come from God. That came from someone else, the evil one. You're going to have that. It's just going to happen. You're human beings. You don't think all the guys, Paul, David, Daniel, Solomon, all those guys that had marriages, Noah, good, faithful marriages, and some that were just temptations and just, they had to have desires. Because back then they married multiple ladies. So the desire had to be there. Well, I want her. Well, she's married. Well, no, you can't have her. She's married. Well, yeah, I'm going to get her anyway. See, that's the thing. That's what happens is you have to set yourself apart. You have to always think of yourself and how the Lord sees who you are. That's the most important thing is, if I do this, how's the Lord going to see me? And that's what I try to do every day. I'm not perfect. I falter. But if God sees me as who I am here, I think He's going to really see me as I'm dedicated, I'm loyal, I'm a sinner. And do I sin all the time? Yeah, I do. I think this, I do this, I judge this, I do this. Because I'm not perfect, but I just try to be. Should I help that guy? You know what? I don't have any money on me. I should have gave that guy, I should figure out what gave that guy money. Okay, let's go pull out some money and let's go back over and find that guy. You go back, he's gone. You feel bad. But you know that $20 would have made a difference in his life. It could have made a difference that would put him out of poverty. You'd be surprised. $100 can matter to someone. $500 can put people out of poverty and put them back on the street again, back on higher ground. I often talk about things and I often think about things that are like that. And I know this is going on a little too long, but I may not have anybody watch this video, but at least I'm trying. At least I do the very best I can do. God bless everybody, and thank you so much for always watching Weekly Gospel.